Hello, everybody. Okay, so welcome to another ITRS webinar. And today's session is with the aim to show that there is a better way to run your core banking operations and prevent business downtime. And we'll be doing that by explaining our core banking observability platform. We're joined today by myself, Chris Panat. I'm Head of Solution Innovation at ITRS. And we also have Angelo. Angelo.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Cool. Okay, so please raise your hand and ask any questions. Angelo will kind of be doing the organization at the back and gather the questions together, and we'll have some at the end too. So let's begin. Quick agenda. So we're going to just quickly explain core banking monitoring challenges, which I'm hoping that you will all recognize. And then we're going to show you our core banking observability offering, which will directly be relating to those challenges. And throughout that, we'll also be showing differentiators again from our offering versus competitors. When it comes to competitor analysis, everybody kind of does everything but in this space, but there's certainly strengths that everybody has because there's key focus points and unique selling points. So I'm going to be pointing out all of the bits that we do that no one else can do combined. And in a brief demo, most of this will be in the explanation of the offering and some Q&A. So here we go. So this is so I'll be showing you the challenges, the benefits, and those 11 differentiators that we do that no one else can do in total. So let's start with the challenges that people have with their core banking systems, the monitoring challenges. So the first one is issue diagnosis. Issue diagnosis can be often quite frustrating because of searching in the dark for causes due to monitoring gaps. You may have one piece of a database tool that came with the database to do the database bit. You may have some freeware to do your infrastructure bit, a network tool, but none of them are all joined up. And so when it comes to finding what the cause of the problem is, you're kind of searching in the dark a little bit and stabbing through the different various tools. Which is where this comes, your data, and then your data is split. So even if you do have everything covered, it's split between those tools. So it causes mistakes to be made when assessing root causes and effects, especially when you're under pressure and you've got a P1 incident. So you've got gaps in your monitoring, and even if you didn't have gaps, it's going to be split amongst tools. And then all of that combines into time sensitivity. It's taking too long to diagnose the issues due to a lack of context and understanding because of those gaps and being split into multiple tools. The last one, probably the the one that resonates the most with people. All of this leads to the reactive issue management, where issues are escalated to you before you know about it. And that's the worst case scenario for anybody in this industry, in this production support industry. You need to be ahead of the curve, and not the worst thing is when you have clients or users escalating to you. So how do we meet those challenges? Well, we have our monitoring stack that we use. So we provide you operating system level 1 monitoring, where the questions that we answer is your operating system functioning and without issues? Then you move up that stack to your core banking platform application set health. So is the core banking platform application set healthy? And when I mean the application set, I don't mean your core banking application on its own. No core banking application on its own is of any use. It has other dependencies with it. There's interfaces, there's web servers, there's end of days or close of businesses, there's data repositories, or reference checks. If you were to draw the architecture of a core banking platform, there's multiple components in there from multiple vendors. So everything we're talking about today is about the application. That's what I mean by your core banking platform. And the application set is the set of applications that allow your core banking platform to work. So it may well be healthy. So the next level though is it performant, which is the next level of maturity. So we also provide that answer. whether your application set is performant. And then so now you've got your application set covered and your operating system covers. The next level of maturity is that service level. Are your core banking services and agents working, available, working, and performant? And there are 3 different questions with 3 different answers. Just because something is available doesn't mean it's working, and just because it's working doesn't mean it's performant. So when we talk about your core banking services and agents, now we're talking about the actual functions, the functions within the core banking application, mortgages, deposits, credits, all that kind of stuff, lending. Moving above your service level is then the most important one, your client impact, the level 5. Are clients experiencing transaction anomalies or issues? Are clients affected by performance or connectivity? So this is your end user base. And your end user base, there's 2 types. You've got your customers that are your own customers and your own internal users as well. So that gives you your complete monitoring maturity stack, and these are the questions that we answer at each level. So I hope those challenges resonate, and I hope those questions that we answer are of interest. So let me go through now the solution offering itself. So I will be going through, if you're squinting at these because these pictures are too small, I will be going through these one by one. This is to show you the overall architecture of our solution offering. We have an overview dashboard there, a single pane of glass that shows you your complete application set plus the monitoring maturity stack. And I will go into that and explain how. So that's your 10,000 foot high single pane of view. Below that, we have thematic dashboards. You've got one that's dedicated to client impact. And then if you've got client impact issues, what's the problem? Go and have a look at your platform. So there's a dedicated platform dashboard. And then there's also a dedicated close of business or end of day dashboard as well. Some different core banking platforms call them different things. Or they can even be intraday, but the problem statement's the same. And below that is the investigative view where all of the data is there. So it's very important to show the difference here between, so like lots of, it's kind of easy to get lots of data. You can go and write your own queries. And so this investigative view is, is expected. I would expect most people to be able to do the investigation. But turning that, but they'll have multiple tools, like I said, with those challenges. Multiple tools, which makes it harder to diagnose, and there's gaps. So having these thematic dashboards on top of that gives you that contextual understanding of what is important right now. And that's how you will reduce that time to issue resolution. Instant understanding. Anyone can collect data, not anyone can turn that into useful information. And that's what we're doing here as you go up this architecture tier. And I'll be showing you all of these as we go on. It's not just the visibility to all of to what's happening and what will be happening, which I'll be talking about, that we're offering, but there's also operational modules as well. There's core banking management, where you can command to control your core banking functions and features. So there's command and control here. You can configure all of the commands that you would like to use. There's also automation. You can have actions that occur that you can configure to occur automatically based on an event or a value or a state change or any kind of event that happens in your system. And that can also be scheduling. There's a whole scheduling tool here with calendar and so on. Obviously, there's notification, there's built-in notifications, emails, SMS, all that kind of stuff. Integrations into and then integration to downstream workflows, ticketing, event management, DM systems, your Slacks, your Jiras, your Remedies, all that kind of stuff. So there's also the operational side as well. It's not just the visibility and the understanding. And then we talk about some of the differentiators. So the pink things, the Ds are differentiators and the Bs are benefits. So it's a super light touch footprint as well. Our history is in capital markets. So we're designed to be super light touch on your application service and minimum impact. And this is fully customizable. Everything I'm showing you now here is out of the box, but if you have additional components in your core banking platform, they can be added. And that operational functionality provides you cost savings as well, because you're now spending less time jumping around through servers, executing commands. You can do it from our system. And all of this is out of the box, ready to go. So the time to value is very, very quick. And so that's more operational cost savings there too. So let's go into this in a bit more detail. So let's start with this overview dashboard. So as you can see here on the top here, this what we call this jigsaw is every component needed within your application set. So let's start off in the middle. You got your data flow, which where you've got the web server. So your data is coming into your web servers, and we have everything covered. Doesn't matter what flavor of web server it is. Then moves into your messaging. And again, different platforms have different messaging flavors. Again, the problem statements are the same. The solution would be very similar. It's just which plumbing we use in between that we would varied on each core banking platform. That then goes into your core banking system in itself. So we have all of the monitoring that goes with that, which I'll go into, and then that hits your database. So we cover like long-running queries and table spaces, all that kind of stuff. So here you have left to right, end-to-end contextual understanding of your data. So if you've got a problem with your web servers, you will end up having a problem with your messaging and then your core banking and your database and so on. And that's how you get that instant time to, or the reduced time to issue resolution. You're not having 3 different teams arguing with each other over phone, talking different languages to each other. One's a physical language, one's a network language, one's a service language. Everyone can look at the same screen and instantly know who's accountable. We then move on to the root cause contextual understanding. So like I said, you've got that client impacts at the top, your transaction timings, your connections, your customer timings, all that kind of stuff. If there's a problem there, why is there a problem? Probably because of your banking services, all of those service engines. Why is that? Why are your services being affected? Well, that's going to be because of that application set. And why would there be an application set issue? Well, that's going to be probably because you're hosting. So there's a root cause understanding there. So you've got both left to right, end to end data flow and up down root cause contextual understanding. And again, anyone can collect this data, but turning it into something that's meaningful is the clever bit. And that's what reduces your time. Note, so as you'll see, there's no gaps. So that, you know, if you've got this one jigsaw puzzle format here that we show, so if there's any components in your core banking set, then they can be fitted into here. What we have here is the kind of 80% rule where most core banking platforms use this stuff. All in one tool and all designed for core banking as well. We are monitoring experts and we partnered up with core banking experts to create this. We've done all the hard business analysis work for you. This isn't just a load of monitoring metrics thrown onto a screen. A lot of thought has gone into this. I often say it's very easy to create complicated monitoring solutions. It's really hard to make simple monitoring solutions. And I hope that's what we've achieved here. Like I said, all of that leads to your reduced time to issue understanding. Also, super important thing, this is all real-time data. This is all real-time, which allows you to do preventative monitoring, because fix that disk issue that's occurring right now because you've been instantly notified, and it will prevent that core banking issue happening, which prevents the calls to the services and prevents the impact. A lot of other solutions out there kind of average up the time, or they give you it in minute intervals or sometimes 5-minute intervals. It's too late by then. Your daisy chain effect would have happened. So this allows you to do preventative monitoring. And there's also anomaly detection in here as well, which I will go into. So if that was your overview dashboard that anybody should be able to understand, we then go into that next level of drill down detail, the 3 thematic dashboards. The first one is there a client impact, which, like I mentioned, that's the most important one. And that's another differentiator. Our solution really does focus on client impact and then tells you the cause. That allows you to know what the operational situation you're dealing with. Are you dealing with something that has to be fixed immediately, or are you dealing with something that doesn't really have a business impact? So here we go. This is our client impact view. There's 4 tiles here. The left tile you can see is called system transactions, and you can see that your system transactions are 28% slower than normal. So there's using historical anomaly detection time series data here to point out whether what is normal, whether that be based on standard deviation, on averages, also the volatility of the type of metric is all taken into consideration here. And we are telling you that it's 28% slower than normal. So these are all your live system transactions, and how many transactions are going through the system as well, are they, compared to normal. So you know exactly what your user impact is because you know the system transaction speed. But what about if how do you know that you've got a deposit transaction issue when no one is doing any deposits? That's where we come on to the second tile, the customer tile. This is synthetic monitoring and customers being outside the firewall. So we are doing synthetic monitoring outside the firewall through like about 200 different data checkpoints across the globe, which can be all customized. And we're saying that that they are 44% slower than normal. And there's a payments issue. It's a payment scenario issue. So this is a way to check or transactions are performant through synthetic monitoring, not relying on whether there's a real transaction going through the system. The third column there, users, is exactly the same format, but this time this is inside the firewall. So these are your internal staff. And then all of that uses APIs. So the last tile that you can see there, the last column is again same format of information, but this is all about API performance and API connection tests. So you've got 4 different lenses to check your client impact: live transactions, synthetic outside the firewall, synthetic inside the firewall, and API underlying technology. And there's another differentiator here between us and the competition. A lot of these metrics that you can see, we have created because we've got this business and service KPI generator. Most of the information that you get out of IT platforms are not actually that useful. They're too low level. So we need to turn it into something meaningful and understandable, and that's what we've done here. There is no such metric that says you're 28% slower. We have created that. So some things are all red here. Well, what's the underlying IT issue? So then that's where you have this platform dashboard. So this is that application set, but going into a bit more detail. You've got your queuing system at the top. How many current messages in there? Is it going up or down within the hour? So you've got some trend analysis there. If you've got more messages coming into your system, that's something to look out for. If the average time in the queue is going up, that's something to look out for. So all of your OFS alerts. Then you've got services here, long-running services. All of your business services should be up and running and ticking and responding. If they're not, then you've got some measurements here. And the same thing with your agents. And then below that, all of your log file monitoring alerts, all of it is covered. I'm not going to read everything out here. What I'm trying to show you here is that we're covering the full stack. OFS messages to the this is a T24 example, but obviously this applies to all of the core banking. And then below that, you've got your database level, so long-running queries. Again, there's that little running man next to every performance metric, and then all your health metrics too, with the heart, web servers and hosting alerts. So this is kind of your IT view of what's happening. The previous view was the client impact view. All customizable. And then the last one is the close of business or end of day or intraday. So here we go. You can see it running, and you can see what the percentage is complete. There's a 10-day trend there because it could be running perfect well every single day, but it gets a little bit slower. So you've got some trend analysis there, broken down by stages or whatever the equivalent is for that platform. And then behind this can go down to thousands and thousands of individual jobs behind your end of day. So there's a massive daisy chain going into this, which you can get to into the investigative view, but this is that high level showing you what's important view. This is your time to understanding, which reduces your time to resolution. How do you know something is complete is normal? You don't, which is why we have a delta there of like whether it's over or below the average duration or standard deviation, like I said, depending on the volatility of the metric. would be the appropriate algorithm to use. So again, lots of business and service KPIs here that we've generated that don't come from your system. So I hope I've explained. Oh, and it's command and control as well. Also, the last slide here. So at ITRS, we do lots of stuff. We've been around for like 25 years. Lots of things in observability, application monitoring, infrastructure, digital experience, capacity cloud optimization, analytics, which is I've shown you some of which. The point is, what I've shown you today is our core banking solution. But because we do all of this other stuff, we're expandable to other applications and platforms. And we're also future-proof. So we're releasing new modules all the time. In the last few years, there's been a big trend towards cloud plugins, orchestration plugins, Kubernetes, all that kind of stuff. So all future-proof. Yeah. So quick summary. I'm not going to read this, but we've gone through those challenges. We've gone through the benefits of our system, and then we've gone through the differentiators versus the competitors. Like I say, some people can do some of those differentiators, but no one can do all of them. So onto a quick demo. I'm not going to go through this into huge detail because I've shown you the system already. But this is it running for real. This is a live system. You can see lots of things are red. If I click into this client impact one, here's my client impact. You can see what's going on with my, so there is a steady trend increase here with my live transactions. I've got lots of synthetic issues and some API issues. I can go into my platform. Here you can see what's going on. So I've got a couple of payment services that are running quite slowly at the moment. And then from here, I can double click and go into my investigation view. So so when I mentioned all the close of business, here are all of the individual jobs that are running. I've got all of the information, the deep dive information here that you could use. You've got the database information. These are locks. How many long-running queries and running session status, all so huge amounts of information. I'll show you the messages as well. So those messages I was talking to you about that are running slow, you can go right down to the individual message ID and the individual latency of every single message going or transaction going through your system. So there's a huge amount of information here. I'm not going to explain all this. I just wanted to go back to explain to you that there's a 3-tier architecture, your overview where you can see absolutely everything, down to those thematic dashboards that's showing you what's important right now, down to this view here, where now you're going into proper investigation mode and having a look around. That was it. I would love to open it up to some Q&A.
So Chris, we've got a couple of questions. The first one, you mentioned transaction and synthetic monitoring. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so if I go into the deep dive view, here we go. Yeah, so again, so on the system transactions, the live transactions, here you can see the different types of transactions that are going through the system, and the latency, average latency, standard deviation, all this kind of stuff on that transaction type. However, if any of those breach are flagged up as slow or lost messages, this is in one slow message, it goes right down, lost messages, multiple slow ones, it goes right down into that individual message ID. So now you can, from here, you can jump into your core banking platform and start looking at that individual message ID and seeing where it is, where you can see where it is. And why will that be slow? Again, if you go back to, it will be something on here that's causing it to be slow. That's and then, like I said, that they're your live ones, but you've also got the synthetic ones that are going through the system. So these are some customer payments that are running through from being outside the firewall, being checked from Amsterdam, and these are the internal ones. So we do have some issues here where you can go through some deposits, and if with that issue You can go through and it will show you, it takes a photograph of exactly, you can see a photograph of exactly what the problem is and where did it fail. And the same thing with the API tests. It's API logs, but then these are all of the API checks that are happening from the different places around the world. But the most important thing about the synthetic and the thing is that one of them isn't good enough, which is why we have those 4 different lenses on client impact. There's no good saying, I just want synthetic monitoring. That won't work because you might not have every scenario covered. No good saying, I just want live transaction monitoring because you might not be testing one that's not used. So you won't be able to see it. So it's important to have this kind of like 4 lens view. Hope that answered the question.
Great, thank you, Chris. I've got another one. How would you monitor multiple core banking platforms?
Yeah, that's a good question, and there's 2 reasons why you would want to do that. There's two scenarios. One is what you're a service provider for core banking, so you're providing multiple, you're providing multiple core banking platforms to your customers, or you are a bank in yourself, but you have multiple instances of core banking, which can happen for technical reasons or legal reasons, so like some geographical domains need to have their own platforms for certain legal reasons or regulatory reasons. So there's lots of reasons why you could have multiple instances. So but they're the 2 use cases. You've got them yourself or you're a service provider. So if I show you a slide, here we go. So I've shown you this, right? This is all one instance of core banking. So what you can do is, so we have a bolt-on that you can use. So you've got instance one. So this is the service provider solution, but it really makes no difference. You can use this in the other use case where you just have multiple instances. So you've got one instance there, you've got a second instance there. So you've got these 2 views of your two different instances. But there's some bolt-on dashboards, bolt-on views that we've created where it aggregates up service KPIs. So here you can see client 1, client 2, client 3. Obviously, this is scalable. You can have as many clients as you like, and it shows you like the relevant KPIs at a multi-instance level. So noise levels is the classic one. SLAs, if you're a service provider, is another classic one. You can then go, if you are a service provider, you can go even higher than that to an error budget level. So there's different ways that you can do. So we have these bolt-on packages to cover multiple instances. When it comes to the, so that's from a understanding point of view, dashboard point of view. When it comes to your investigative view, it makes no difference. I would there core banking 1. I would have another one, core banking 2. I would see all of it here, core banking 3 and 4, and you can all of these tags that you can see here. That instead of ITRS, it could be Europe, it could be EMEA, it could be APAC. So from an investigative point of view, it makes no difference how many instances you have. All of the data is here and logically organized.
Great, thank you for that, Chris. Final question. What can the solution do outside of core banking system monitoring?
Yeah, so again, if I go back to the relevant slide, it was this one here. So again, like our history is capital markets. We've got market data, FX, commodities, equities, all the capital market spaces. So we have lots of stuff on that side, the capital market side. We also have core banking as well. There's some payment solutions that we have as well, risk. And the reason, and you can sum that up by application infrastructure, digital experience monitoring. So a lot of e-commerce stuff here, and capacity and cloud management as well, and all of the analytic repository in the middle that can kind of do all of your like predictive AI ops kind of functionality. And when it comes to the monitoring, well, there's like about 100 different what we call plugins here that can be used. So for Kafka, for Kubernetes, for Docker. So there's lots of, and some of these are industry specific, and some of these are enterprise wide, like WMI or JMX, technology specific. So as a result of all of these different functions and plugins, you can create as many solutions as you like.
Perfect, great. That is all the questions answered. Thank you for that, Chris.
Great, good. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, and yeah, just let us know please get in contact with us for any further questions.
Great. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.